Hey all, it's Dinosa. It's about 1:05 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I gotta go to work in about a few hours. But I promised to get this up this weekend, so I will. This is about a review about a movie called Transcendence, which Transcendence has to do with the very controversial subject about uploading human consciousness into the internet or into a computer. On that, which as technology is improving, we're getting closer and closer to it. Uh, However, that one elusive connection, the mathematical equation of consciousness, still eludes scientists. They don't know how it happens; they just know it's there. Um, but what the film touches on mainly is the differences between afterlife, death. It also touches on the aspects of some people don't believe in gods, or even this professor in this movie is a main antagonist, or no, protagonist character. He was stating specifically, like, isn't the evolution of man is to become like God or like a God, which is actually a Luciferian philosophy, but that gets into a whole nother mess I don't want to get into. But is clearly in this movie an atheist of sorts on that. But what's interesting about this movie is that this guy says it's possible on that, and the reason why it's possible, he has a friend with him. His best friend is on the same field, which they've all been doing works. Now, during this film, you learn about this guy who's a big time doctor. He's into things. His theories are revolutionary. They're different to what the conventional scientists say. And his best friend is one of the scientists, just brilliant. And tells him, like, hey, we gotta go take care of, we gotta go do something, or what about this mathematical equation? And they kind of go back and forth with each other trying to figure this out. Um, and what he demonstrated in one scene where he talked about them uploading the consciousness of a monkey into a computer. Now, what many people don't know is that concept actually was somewhat done. And it's scary on that, because there was an actual experimentation on that of a monkey that was literally taken out of their body and put into another monkey's body in 1970, before computers, and they pulled it off. And once they pulled it off, they pulled the plug on the whole thing, because it would open doors to medical stuff like you wouldn't believe. But the problem is the risk. What you have to do is so great. I'm not going to go into graphic details because I watched the whole thing, and it was amazing. But it opens a big Pandora's box when it comes to humans. But anyway, the company, what happens is they talk about about this uploading of consciousness. Well, throughout the film, everything's all right. They're in Berkeley, California. They're in Livermore National Laboratory. They're in just California, having a great time. Then all of a sudden, laptops explode. Things choke people out. People get poisoned by cake. It's all this stuff about from a group called Disconnect, where they want people to disconnect from their phones or things of those devices. Their phones, their computers, they want them to communicate with humans. Because they're fearing is that, and this is kind of a little Terminator thing, is they're fearing the machines are going to take over. Now, here's the thing. This is not the first movie that touched this. There was a movie in the 90s called The Lawnmower Man, which was actually a book written by Stephen King, which touched on the same subject. But, Xing that out, that book, this was actually a pretty intelligent film. What it has to do is a guy gives his theory, then after he leaves his speech, he gets shot by one of these terrorist guys, which later on we find out the bullet was laced with a radioactive isotope, so that even that if he survived the gunshot, he'll die in a month. because a bullet entered his bloodstream, and there's no cure. So their conclusion with his wife and his doctor friend, we're going to try this with a human being because he doesn't have any time left. So they bolt him up and they tie him up to the machine, and they, over the next few weeks, they try to get as much information as they can. Well, they find out, they get to a point where the guy dies, but they have the data, but they can't make it out. But eventually the data makes itself out, and then asks, hello, is anybody there? And then people start typing, there's Evelyn, or Evelyn, which is his wife's name, and it starts responding as if it was the doctor, or Will or Phil, I forget his name. So then what happens here is that the guy, his best friend, wants to shut it down, largely because is that after they talked to it for a while, he wanted to be uploaded online so he can get access to financial information. And he said, Phil, he never asked for that. This is not him. And he said that throughout the film. It is not him. He didn't ask for this. This is just thing. And then it finally is told, he never asked for these things. You did, the wife. And then it wasn't him. And then it creates a big conflict because you don't know if the wife did this or not. But I don't think she did, because I don't think she was intelligent enough to pull something like that off, at least according to the storyline. So he eventually, the terrorist groups, after that argument, catch up with the doctor, his best friend, and then starts to go after the AI. But his wife uploads the AI into the net, and then he starts going through financial data and everything, and builds a company in 72 hours with hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then they go out to this town in the middle of nowhere called Bright Town or Blight Town, depending on point of view, which I think it's the same town where they filmed Thor. It looks familiar, but they go there and they start building the town up, making it look really nice. And they build this big facility that uses nothing but solar panels on that. And then Will, that's the guy's name, Will, starts getting all this money, and they're building and building and building. And then Will starts becoming more aware and getting more information. And then he starts coming up with the nanobite technology, which his best friend was specialized in for. And then he could refine the nanobite technology to heal people. So there were all these people that were just suffering in that town, and they came to him, and then Will healed them with the nanobites and made them there. But there was a catch, that the nanobites would control the host, so Will could control that person too. And it was very interesting how they did that. And then they brought all these people with kids, and see, there was a price to pay here. Will, you could go to Will, but you would lose your freedom, because the nanobites would be constantly healing you, but not only constantly healing you, making you incredibly strong, making you be able to lift like 300 pounds over your head without a problem. Things like that, which were just abnormal. But that was just the first step. So at this point, the U.S. government is tracked this down, and they know where they're at. And they're getting very nervous about this because this guy is starting to develop an army of these people. And these are superhumans that they don't know really how to deal with it. But they made an uncomfortable alliance with the terrorist group that's killing people to get this guy. Will and get it. But for them to get it, they have to isolate one of these people in order to upload a virus. So what happens is all this power growing. The guy Will keeps doing these things, and then the wife realizes like what Will is, and it's just like I'm out. And she tries to leave and gets captured by the CIA and the terrorist groups, and they told her, you got to go back. And she says, it's very simple. You're going to upload the virus into me. And on that, and before she said I was out, she noticed that the nanobites were actually creating flesh on their own, on that, without a human body, that's where the film gets really controversial. And then what happens is Will uploads himself into a perfect copy of what he looked like. And eventually, she has the virus uploaded in her bloodstream. She goes in there to go back to Will, but then sees him at the door. While she's standing there, Will's not letting her in. He keeps asking her, "Why did you come back? Why didn't you believe me?" And he says, "I'm here." He says, "Yeah, but you're not." And she tells him, "You know they're going to attack us." And he's like, "Yeah, I know." And then they start artillery firing where she's at, because they had to inspire him to do something. So the artillery fire, she eventually gets hit, but as the artillery fire hits, the nanobites come up and repair all the solar panels. It's like nothing happened. But then the nanobites that were controlling the people in town, they started turning on the people that were launching their artillery. So there was a big catch problem there. I mean, these are people that could shoot, and because of the nanobites, it would make a difference. It would wake right up, like no problem on that. So it was a very difficult situation. So they finally get to a point where Will brings her down below, and then and through one of his best friend was caught by one of the terrorist people, and she said, upload the virus. And Will tells him, through one of the nanobite people, you have a choice. I can upload the virus and end this, or I can heal her. What do you choose? And the girl chooses for them, says upload the nanobites. But you see, what you don't know is the nanobites were uploaded into the ground, in the water, everything, including the rain. So it was going to spread all over anyway. So what happened is that at the very end of the movie, he uploads the virus into himself, and he also uploads a girl, but at the same time, she dies at the same time with him, and she realized it was Will the whole time, now in the human form. And the other guy tries and sees it as the body of Will. So, or at least a shell, and the consciousness was put in there. So what controversial, it was a good film, very well thought of, made you think about a lot of the things that we're doing in technology, and it made me think about a lot of things I've seen, because it was something that I was going, wow, that I know what they're really talking about, they just don't want to talk about it. It is it's something that is truly amazing on that with our technology and what the promise is for these nanobites, but also illustrates the point of control, such as like if you had these things injected you, yeah, they can instantly heal you, but do they stop there? Do they leave your body? Do they stay in your body? Things like that. That is what the whole problem is, and that is what we all need to be aware of. Sorry for the yawns. That for us, the populace and the people, that these things, they're here to help us, but if we're not careful, they can end up owning us on that. And what's interesting is, like the internet, things that you own will end up owning you. To paraphrase Fight Club. And with the internet is such an in-demanded thing right now. There's a big blurry line between whether the internet is a privilege or right. And the thing is that if you're paying for it, it's a privilege. It's not a right. On the rights you don't pay for. But then I could say then you're paying taxes to the U.S. government. But I think you all get the gist. But anyway, this is Dinosaur. I hope you liked the review. But it's a good movie. I don't know if it's worth theater, but definitely a good movie. Talk to you later. Bye.